Ladies and gentlemen, gather round, because we're diving into the lore of one of the most iconic big bads in the anime world, the Progenitor, the source, the final boss himself, Muzan Kibutsuji. This isn't just a story about a powerful demon, this is a tragic, terrifying, and utterly American-style tale of a man so afraid of the dark, he decided to become it. To truly understand the monster that is Muzan Kibutsuji, we must first erase the image of the powerful, untouchable demon king from our minds. We have to go back to the very beginning, to the one, single, human weakness that spawned a millennium of nightmares, a pathetic, all-consuming fear of death. This isn't a story that starts with a grand ambition to rule the world, it starts in a sickbed. Imagine a man in the Heian era, wasting away from a disease that no doctor could cure. His body wasn't a temple, it was a prison, frail and failing him with every labored breath. In that state, he wasn't a villain. He was the most human thing possible. He was terrified. This primal, desperate desire to just live, to not have his story end, is the tragic, relatable seed from which all the evil grows. It's a feeling we can all, on some level, understand. The fight against mortality is the oldest human story there is. But Muzan's response to this fear is what defines his entire existence. He was given a second chance, a miracle in the form of an experimental treatment that rewrote his very DNA. It granted him everything he thought he wanted: immense power, rapid regeneration, and the ultimate prize, immortality. Yet, his first reaction wasn't gratitude or wonder. It was a narcissistic, entitled rage. Why? Because the cure wasn't perfect. The sun, the very source of life for our entire world, was now lethal to him. He was given the entire universe on a silver platter, and he threw a tantrum because the platter had a single, tiny scratch. To understand the sheer scale of Muzan's operation, we need to reframe him entirely. Forget the image of a demon king on a dark throne, instead, picture the most ruthless, micromanaging CEO you can possibly imagine, the kind you see in dramas about cutthroat corporate America. His enterprise, a predatory, supernatural multi-level marketing scheme where the product sold is a cursed form of power, and the currency is your humanity. This is Demon Corp, and Muzan is the founder, CEO, and sole shareholder. His recruitment strategy is brutally efficient. He doesn't seek the ambitious, he preys on the vulnerable. He headhunts people at their absolute lowest, the terminally ill, the grief-stricken, the abused, and the powerless. He offers them a signing bonus of incredible power and a new life, but the contract is written in blood and has clauses of eternal servitude. He turns them into demons, his new employees, and gives them a fancy title and a unique blood demon art. Think of it as their corporate laptop and specialized software. Then, he gives them their primary performance goal: find the blue spider lily. This is the genius and the cruelty of his system. The goal is a glorified wild goose chase. The flower is so obscure it might as well be a myth, making the mission fundamentally unachievable. This ensures his workforce is perpetually busy, desperate to prove their worth, and forever chasing a promotion that doesn't exist. The corporate ladder is the 12 Kizuki, his upper and lower moons. They are his VPs and regional managers, locked in a brutal, internal competition for his favor. There are no team-building retreats, only quarterly performance reviews where failure isn't just met with a pink slip, but with disintegration. He's the ultimate toxic boss, the one who calls you at midnight, monitors your every move, and publicly humiliates you for the smallest mistake, all while demanding unwavering loyalty and gratitude. He cannot comprehend why his employees don't feel a deep, personal commitment to the company mission after he's threatened to murder them in the most painful way imaginable. This structure is so chilling because it's a dark mirror of our own world's pressures, the impossible quotas, the fear of a micromanaging boss who sees you as a disposable asset, and the hollow promise of a reward that never materializes. His struggle as a leader is a farce. It's the frustration of a narcissist who built a company where he is the entire board of directors and every single employee is both a salesperson and a customer, trapped in a cycle of consuming humans just to meet the unmeetable demands of a boss who offers nothing but the bleak privilege of continued existence under his tyrannical thumb. For all his power and his self-proclaimed status as a supreme being, Muzan Kibutsuji's entire existence was governed by a single, crippling emotion: paranoia. This is the great irony of the demon progenitor. He could snap his fingers and create an army, command the night, and live for 1,000 years, yet he was psychologically trapped, held hostage by a legend, a piece of corporate folklore that became his personal boogeyman. The prophecy of a swordsman with Hanafuda earrings wielding the sun-breathing technique was more than a threat, It was a Yelp review from 1,000 years ago that he was desperately trying to have removed from the internet. It was a glitch in the system of his perfect, eternal life that he could not patch. Think about the sheer insecurity that reveals. He amassed all this power not to build a legacy, but to fortify himself against a single, hypothetical challenger. He wasn't a visionary leader, he was a security-obsessed homeowner installing a dozen locks on his door because he once heard a rumor about a thief. This paranoia dictated his every move. His relentless hunt for the blue spider lily wasn't just about walking in the sun, it was about eliminating his one remaining vulnerability, about becoming a perfectly sealed fortress. His brutal culling of his own demons, especially the lower moons, wasn't just about punishing failure, it was a preemptive strike against any potential weakness in his organization. He was so terrified of a future threat that he would constantly weaken his own present forces. This is the mentality of a deeply insecure middle manager, not a confident king. He saw the unwavering loyalty and bonds of the Demon Slayer core not as a strength, but as a bizarre and illogical anomaly. He couldn't comprehend why anyone would fight for someone else. To him, the Hashira were fools for sacrificing themselves for a cause, and Tanjiro Kamado was an absolute lunatic for his devotion to his sister. He mistook their connection for a liability because, in his world, every relationship was transactional and every ally was a potential threat. His family of demons was held together by a shared curse and the terror of his wrath, and he projected this hollow dynamic onto everyone else. For 1,000 years, he was the apex predator, yet he spent every single one of those years looking over his shoulder, terrified of the shadows he himself cast. His struggle wasn't against the demon slayers, it was against the ghost of a man who had long since turned to dust, a specter of his own making that was far more powerful and enduring than any demon he could ever create. The final, crushing defeat of Muzan Kibutsuji was not a matter of power, but a lesson in evolution. For 1,000 years, he possessed near godlike strength, yet he remained utterly stagnant. He was the ultimate embodiment of a finished product, a piece of software that was never updated after its initial, bug-ridden release. His entire combat strategy for centuries was brute force and regeneration. He never developed new techniques, never forged new alliances, and never evolved his mindset beyond that of the scared, entitled patient he was at the beginning. He was like a veteran employee who learned one system in the 1980s and refused to adapt, believing his seniority alone made him superior to everyone else. Meanwhile, look at his opposition. The Demon Slayer Corps was the definition of a lean, adaptive startup. They faced extinction, but they never stopped innovating. They developed new breathing styles, they reverse-engineered his technology in the form of the Demon Slayer mark, they weaponized his own biology against him with Tamayo's poison, and they even rediscovered the transparent world and the bright red Nichiren blades, features he had access to for centuries but never bothered to master. His struggle in the final battle was the struggle of a legacy system crashing when confronted with modern, integrated technology. He wasn't just fighting Tanjiro, he was fighting the cumulative knowledge, sacrifice, and evolution of every slayer who came before. He was fighting the legacy of Yoriichi, not as a man, but as a teacher whose lessons had been studied, refined, and built upon for generations. Muzan had no teachers, only servants. He had no legacy, only a curse. His final, desperate act, to explode and turn every nearby person into a demon, was the ultimate admission of this failure. It was a denial of his own end, a pathetic attempt to force his own stagnant, parasitic existence onto the world, because the concept of a world continuing without him was incomprehensible. He couldn't grow, so he tried to make everyone else regress to his level. In the end, the sunrise that destroyed him was a symbol of the progress he had always rejected. The sun is constant, but it rises on a new world every single day. Muzan was a relic of a bygone era, a fixed point in time, and he was erased by the forward march of everything he could never understand: teamwork, sacrifice, and the relentless, beautiful human drive to become better than you were the day before.